Hi, this is Tia from Peterson Pals, and I wanted to share today the 5 tips or things I wish I would have known before I started crocheting. The first thing I want to talk about is yarn. Yarn makes a huge difference in the different things you make and how things turn out and how the process works. The yarn I started working with is called Red Heart. That was the first yarn I went to, my first go-to. I have a full bin still that I need to get rid of down in my basement of this yarn. When working with this yarn, it was the cheapest. So that was my first go-to. And I also didn't know there was anything out there. I taught myself how to crochet, and these look nice. I didn't know why my crocheting wasn't going well, but now that I am old enough to go find my own yarn and to know that there is other yarn out there, I have decided I actually do not like the Red Heart yarn. It's very rough. It doesn't feel well, or it doesn't feel good. It doesn't work up well. I feel like it sticks to my crochet hooks. It just doesn't work well for me. So I do not like using this yarn anymore. I also have figured out that different yarn works well with different projects. I am excited to try this Yarn Bee yarn from Hobby Lobby. I have a bunch of fall colors. This is so soft. I think it's gonna work up really well. I plan on making some hats with this thinner yarn, maybe crocheting some scarves with this thinner yarn. I found, I believe it's called Karen, correct me if I'm wrong, but Chunky Cakes yarn. This is so soft. I love this yarn. The colors are beautiful. It's soft. It does split a little bit. Splitting, if you don't know, is when you have your crochet hook and you wrap the yarn around and the threads split around the crochet hook. And then when you have your piece, you have little fuzzy round pieces sticking out of your beautiful finished project. And it just is such a bummer when that happens, because either you pull it out and you start over, or you keep going and then you have all these things that you see and you're like, I wish I would have changed that as I was making my project. I love this. When I tried to use it to make some stuffed animals though, I found out that it gets kind of rough and hard with the smaller stitches. So this is beautiful. I love it. It's soft. I'll probably stick to using this for blankets, most likely for maybe our kiddos, or maybe some loose hats, rather than my tighter stitches. For my tighter stitches, and right now, my big crafts, I love to use any of these thicker worsted weight yarns. This is the Baby Bee from Hobby Lobby. It's adorable, poolside vibes. Anything like this, I don't know if you can see it, with this kind of texture, I love using. It's soft. I usually make mostly stuffed animals right now. It's soft, it feels really good, it works up fast. When using these thinner yarns, the stitch definition is really good, but it takes a lot longer and your products end up a lot smaller. As a mom of 3, I don't have a lot of time and I crank stuff out as fast as I can, and when the projects work up faster, it feels so much better. I have 2 projects. I want to show you the difference in sizes and how they work up. So this is a thicker worsted weight yarn. I don't know if you can see the fuzzies on it. I'm trying to show you the best. It's really kind of scratchy. It's beautiful. This is a beautiful pumpkin, but it's really kind of scratchy. It's got some fuzzies underneath too. But would I use this yarn again? I don't think I would, because it's really scratchy. It's not fun to touch. It's fuzzy all over the pumpkin rather than clear, which I'm not a big fan of. It does give it the kind of rustic look, but I really am a big fan of things feeling good on your hands. I feel like that's a big factor in people when they purchase things. I would much rather have a product that turns out like this, that's soft. I know the stuffed look isn't for everybody. It looks like a toy. I get that. House-wise, decor-wise, this might not be for you. Maybe this would be more your style, and I totally understand that piece of it. But for the things I make more often, I think my customers would like this better just because it feels better. A lot of times it's for younger clients or just people that are younger customers, or people just that really, really like how it feels, how it squishes, how comfy it is. I like that personally for the things that I make. The next thing I wanted to talk about are hook sizes. When you're making product, or when you're making your creations, there are recommended hook sizes on the back of the yarn. I never knew that what you're making kind of decides the hook size. For example, if I'm making a scarf, I might want a larger hook. Maybe I want an 8, or maybe I want let's see, or which one would I maybe use? Maybe I want a 7, one of these sizes. However, if I'm making a stuffed animal, or if I'm making a stuffed animal or a hat, I might want a smaller hook size. This is our dog Mello. He wants to come say hi. I might want a smaller hook size so the stitches aren't so big. For example, when I made this little turtle starting out, I used the kind of yarn I like. He's really soft. He's very sweet. However, I noticed that the holes are too big. I do not enjoy the holes on the stuffed animal. Sorry, don't mind me pushing him off. He just doesn't take no for an answer. He's okay. He's still jumping around. The holes were too big. I did not like that. I could feel it through the stuffed animal. I did not enjoy that. When I move down a hook size, look how beautiful these stitches are. So that would be number 2, hook size, and also the types of hooks. I'm really sad today. I broke my favorite hook. Oh, I'm so sad. And I also, rookie mistake, I know where I got it, but I don't know the type of hook it was. I know that it was good for your hand movements, for all the repetition you use with your stitches. So I am going to go find that one again. It broke today when I was trying to weave in some ends, and I'm really bummed about it, but I know better. I should have used a metal hook to try and pull the ends through. I do have these hooks from Yarnology that I need to open up. These are my smaller hooks that I really go to. I use a 4.0 or 4.5 hook size most often now when I'm making my stuffed animals. I feel like that works well for me, that it makes the stitches perfect, that it just all comes together so clean, and I like that a lot. While using the metal hooks, I've noticed on especially any kind of the fuzzy chenille baby soft yarn, that the metal hooks, it does stick to the hook as it comes off, and I don't like that as much. It's not my favorite. It makes it slower to work up. I'd like it better if it just slid off easier. I can go faster. I can pay less attention. I like all of that because then my products come up quicker and I can get to more things. So I think it helps with speed. I think it helps with how the product ends up looking. I'm not saying there's not a use to the metal hooks. I've just decided now that I've been able to branch out more. They're just not my favorite. And I know there are better metal hooks out there than just the cheap Walmart ones. That's what I've had in the past. And now that I've been crocheting a lot more, I'm seeing there's more out there. And I don't think I would use, I believe these are aluminum hooks from Walmart. And I don't think I would probably pick to use these anymore. Another technique I learned, this is number 3. Another technique I learned is when you're making stuffed animals, you can yarn under. I never knew that. That's not anything I ever saw in a video before now. When you yarn under, you do get a different pattern. As you can see, it's all kind of one fabric, and it's a little, I'd say bumpy, but uniformly bumpy. That there's no gaps. It's really tight. It's tight. It keeps the stuffing in so you don't see any of the holes through or the stuffing popping out, and I really like that, especially for kids' toys or things people might give out at baby showers or for Christmas. I like it to look finished and nice and polished. So I really like the yarn under technique. I wouldn't probably use it if I was making scarves necessarily, or maybe blankets, but for things like this where I really want them to turn out tight and without holes, I think it works out really well. So that's number 3. I didn't know you could yarn under. If you don't know what I'm talking about, after you put your hook through, instead of wrapping over, you grab the yarn underneath with your hook and pull it through. And then I do it again, and then I grab it, and instead of wrapping under, then I pull underneath again, and it works really, really well. Number 4 is that I used this year safety eyes for my first time. This is kind of when I found out about big stitches and hook sizes matter when you're making stuffed animals. I knew that hook size mattered. I knew that you don't want really loose stitches, but I didn't know how much it mattered. When you're making products for other people, if the safety eyes come out, that's a safety issue. And I never had run into that before because I never used the safety eyes. So these are the safety eyes that I use. They're just off Amazon. The yellow or the white circles just for my camera. They're black in the middle with clear plastic around. Now these are great. I like these. They're hard to put on. There are special tools you can use. However, because I wasn't yarning under, because I wasn't using a small enough hook size, I have these gaps. I don't know I think you can see them in the stuffing. And these safety eyes are not safe. You can see it's popping out right now. It's not safe. It falls out. Even with a smaller hook size, I'm not loving these anymore. I've turned to sinker eyes. Now sinker eyes sink straight into the fabric, and the ones I found, they're just beautiful. They've got glitter on the back. They look like a store-bought stuffed animal. I just think they make it look so polished and neat. They are more expensive, but I also think you can charge more for your creation if you have a more polished look. And a look that your customers are looking for. I think these are kind of the expectation customers see at stores, and it helps relate a store product to my product. So I really do like that. Number 4. This is a huge one, and it sounds easy and it sounds simple and silly for me to say, but it is counting stitches. I found on patterns it's so helpful when they have the number on the side. And I used to be like, oh, it's fine, it'll work out, it's good. But I found out that actually, usually the stitches don't work out the way I planned. When I go through and I count a row, I'm like, oh my goodness, I don't know how I picked that up, or I don't know how I have an extra, or maybe I didn't hook one that I should have. But if you don't know that, your product's not going to turn out the way you want it to. So counting stitches has made it so much easier for me to be happy with the product I make. After putting that much time in, you really, really, really want it to turn out as well as you hoped. Especially if you're spending money on patterns and all the yarn and putting all the time in, especially if you're a busy mom or just busy with work. You don't want to spend all that time and it not turn out for you. With counting stitches, I never knew these existed. Teaching myself to crochet, nobody taught me, and nobody told me, and it would have made my life so much easier. And you know what? You guys are probably laughing at me because you guys probably all knew this was a thing to begin with. But these are stitch markers. You can buy them, a huge pack, like 200 of them on Amazon for $5, $4. Love them. I love them. I put them in each of my rows so I can see where my row started. And then I count each of my stitches all the way around in my pattern, and they just make my life so much easier. My products have turned out so much nicer, and I like the colored ones as well because sometimes I need to know the order. So it's kind of silly, but I go in the rainbow order, and then if I get to the rows where you aren't increasing, you're not decreasing, you're just single crocheting all the way around, I use the same color all the way through, so I know when I started that and when I ended that. And it's really been helpful for me to just put a project down and pick it back up. I do that a lot. It's not very often I can finish a project in one sitting. I'd say hardly ever. So I'd say that's huge. And then lastly, it's okay to decide a project is not working for you anymore. If you start a project and it's not turning out right, I have so many times pushed through it to the end and I've hated my product. And not only did I hate my product, but I was so disappointed with the time that it took to make that product and the time that I spent thinking about it and planning it out and then coming up with an end result that I can't even use. If you think it's not turning out, frog it. And if you don't know what that means, frog it means to pull it out and to wind it back up and start over. Or at least pull out the rows that you don't like if something's not turning out. I just did that today with a new pumpkin. I have a gold pumpkin I made. And when I started out, I was working in rounds. And if you don't know what that means, you're not hooking your rounds together. You're just spiraling and going around and around. And the top ended up really pointy. And I'm like, this is not good for a pumpkin. And you know what? I think I did 2 rows. And then I decided this is not working. This is not going to turn out. I'm going to be very disappointed with the final product. I'm not going to be able to use it. I'm not going to be able to sell it. Why did I finish that? I wasted the yarn and I wasted my time. So instead I think I was about this far in and I was like, you know what? Nope, we're just going to do it. So I frogged the entire thing and I started from scratch and I am so happy that I did. Because that entire ball of yarn that went into the pumpkin was not wasted. It's beautiful. I'm gonna have a good final product that I'm proud of, and if I wanted to sell it, I could. So I definitely recommend if you decide something's not working, either stop, redo it, or say, is this something I want to spend my time on? I've started projects before, and I do like finishing my projects, but I looked at it and I'm like, you know what? I'm not really happy with this. I don't love it anymore. I don't see me using it. I'm not going to invest the time in it to finish it. So those are things that I think are good to know before you crochet and spend all your time and put your heart and soul into your products, because you have to love it. You have to love it. So the things that I talked about, just to remind you, the types of yarn are really important. Find one that feels good to you. Find one that's good for the type of product you're making, and that will give you the end result you want. Decide what hook size you need. If you need those tight stitches, you don't want to probably go with a recommended hook size. I would size down, maybe significantly down. If you want those bigger blanket stitches, maybe you'll need to size up. It just really depends what you're looking for. Also, when you're making any of these stuffed animals, I know there's a special name for them, and it starts with an A, and it is just escaping me right now. But when you make these kind of plushies or stuffed animals, yarn under. It will make your stitches a lot tighter, and it will make your product look very polished and finished. I love how they look. Number 4 is counting your stitches. Count your stitches with each row and make sure to use those stitch markers in your rows. Use your stitch markers. They make your life so much easier. They take time, but then you know what? They also save you a bunch of time. And then lastly, like I said, number 5, if you decide something's not working for you, that's okay. Stop it. Frog it. Keep going. Don't keep going. It's up to you. It's your creation. If you don't like it, then don't finish it. If you love it and you have a big plan for it, maybe pull out the stitches you're not loving and keep going. Anyways, this is Tia from Peterson Pals, and I am so happy that you watched my video today. Please like and subscribe. Thank you.